Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Ark Nova. Ark Nova is designed by Mathis Wig and published by Capstone Games. It's a 1 to 4 player game where you're trying to build the best zoo. Your zoo is going to need to have the best critters. You're going to need to get as many tickets as you can to see for people to see these attractions, and you're going to try to have the best conservation efforts in there to score the best points by the end of the game. Let's go ahead down to the table. I'll give you a general idea how this game plays, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so Ark Nova is a massive game, and there is a lot of different moving parts in this game, and there's a lot of really cool different things you can do in this game. I'm not really going to do any form of rule teach, but I'm just going to give a super high level overview of what you're going to be trying to do during the game. So the main point of the game is trying to have the highest score at the end, and the only way you're really going to do this, now note that there is a new rule change to this game where you add up your conservation and add up your tickets, and that's your total price, or your total score. But in the original game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get these two markers to meet, and when they do, it triggers the end of the game and it causes end game scoring, and you can pick up a couple extra points at the end of the game. And what you're basically looking for is getting points for the difference between these two. So if I, for example, made it all the way up the conservation track to here and this marker was here, I would have 4 points. But if they were separated and they didn't meet, I would have a negative score. So basically your goal is trying to rocket past your conservation point, or have your conservation point rocket past your appeal, which is these tickets, points, to win the game. So that's scoring really quickly in a nutshell. There's a little nuancy to that, but that's basically what your aim is for the game. When you're moving your conservation points along the track, you can get bonuses on here too. So when you move them on here, like you can flip over one of your cards to the level 2, or you can get an extra associate. Down here, you can get an extra tile to start out the game, or extra tile to place out here, or you can get the card of where this token is. So there's a lot of bonuses for getting along this conservation track. In addition to that, once you hit this point at the beginning of the game, you get 2 like objective scorings, private objective scorings that you can pick from, and you don't actually have to pick from these until one player gets to this point on the conservation track, and then you have to pick and discard one. So you can hold on to that and work through the game with that. The main portion of this board is going to be on your player board, is where you're going to be working to get the most points. So a lot of the things in this game that you're going to need to do are going to be in these buildings, or I guess habitats or whatever, and you're going to need to put these out on your board here so you can place new critters out. Now you'll start with a 3, and you'll place it here because you haven't used it yet, and you have a ticket booth. And a ticket booth is going to gain you 1 money for every attraction that's around it. Now, tons of different polynomial shapes, tons of different things to look at in there, but note that in order to play cards, so your animal cards I'll show you in a second, you need to have habitats to put them in. So placing them out in here is very important, and when you do place them out, you get different bonuses. So if I place them out on here, I can flip one of mine over to a level 2, I can flip another over to level 2, and so on and so forth. Now, other things on your player board that are very important for this game is going to be this bottom action track. That's going to be how you're going to do all your actions in the game itself. So the way you're going to be doing these actions is you're going to select one of these, and the place that it's along this track here is very important. This is going to be basically like the multiplier for it. So if I pick this one here and I look at this chart, I see where he is on the track here, and since it's on the 1, I can't place any animals, but if it was on the 2 or the 3, I could place 1. If it was on the 5, I could place 2. If I play a card, so let's say I go here and I want to take a break. So if I'm taking a break, I would move the break counter, which is this really cool coffee here, forward 2. I'll tell you what that means when it gets to the end here, but just know that you take a break, and then here, based on where its location, so it's up on the 2 level right here, so I get to draw 1 card from the deck there. Once I do that, it'll move down and put itself at the bottom. This will move up. Now I can play an animal if I want. Here, this build one, this lets me build 1 building the size of where I'm at. So I can build a size 3 building, and I have to pay 2 money per space. And these are the available buildings that I can build. I won't be able to build some of the more advanced buildings until I upgrade this, and this will be upgraded to level 2 by a couple of the different places. So if I cover over these, or I can I select this one at this part of the track, I can level these up, and once they level them up, you get better abilities. This thing becomes this becomes better. This one here lets me not only put out 2 animals, but also lets me move along this track. And this track also gives me bonuses once I get to certain places. Like here, I can flip another one over to the level 2, and so on and so forth. So it's always good to do that. The association marker here, you can perform 1 association check with a maximum value of X. So where I'm at on here, you can look at the association track up above here. So let me show you that guy real quick. So this is the association track. So wherever I'm on along the associate track, I can do that. I can take my associate. I only have 1 to start the game out, but I can unlock others through doing different things in the game. And I place them anywhere that I'm allowed to. So here, if it's on a 5, I can place it here, 4, 3. The most important ones to start out the game are going to be these ones, because if you get these, then you're going to be able to place more animals, because these are prerequisites for some of the animals and stuff, and also unlocks things on your player board. Here you can grab one of the associations with one of the continents here. It helps you pay less for the animals and unlocks things on your board. Here you can claim one of the bonuses on here. So once you claim a bonus, you can't claim any more bonuses on a card. So I could claim a bonus on here. So if I have 5 African animals, I can claim this the one on the leftmost, which is really cool. So you can claim them on here. Here you can move up your marker up that track too. And here you can pay money to get points. And that would be that. So that's the association track. Let's go back to the player board here. So on your player board here, we haven't finished all the actions yet because we have sponsor, but know that those associate actions can put buildings so that this building, if I purchased it, would go here. And the next time I would build another building, so if I can go there, I can place that, and I would also get the bonus here, which would flip this over too. Now these ones that go along this track, you can do up until here, but then you can't go any farther until you upgrade the association card. Then you can actually continue on going up that track, which is pretty cool for adding these tags out and stuff. And you can unlock these people through different means. One of them is right there. So that is a really, really quick gist of those actions. The final action on here is just sponsor. You can you pay 1 sponsor card with a maximum level of X from your hand, break X and gain X. So I can break 5 and gain 5 money if I wanted to. Now there are cards in this game, and the cards in this game are here. And there's animals and there's sponsor cards. At the beginning of the game, you get 8 cards. You discard down to 4. And what you're looking for is this going to be the habitat size. So right now I have a 3 habitat, so I could place this because I could always put a animal into a larger habitat than it needs, but not a larger into a smaller, and 12 money. It also gives me these 2 tags, and I get this ability when I place it down. Here, this one here, same idea. It's going to be 3 size habitat, 12 money. And some of them have prerequisites. Like this one I couldn't build right now because I need a 4 size habitat, but also I need to have this tag already down on the board to be able to play. Now their associate cards are just going to give you benefits in the game, and you have to play that sponsor action to get them out. So when you play cards, you'll just place them in your tableau. You'll flip over the area you used for to place that animal, and if you ever lose that animal or get rid of that animal, you can flip one back, but it has to be the size, it would have to be closest to the size that you placed. So the 3, I'd flip over 3. If I had 2, I'd flip over 2. Whether that's the one I used or not doesn't matter. and I can place another animal. So those are the main actions in the game. And like I said, you're going to be trying to move through this board here and gain as much appeal as you possibly can, because when this coffee marker, so enough people take coffee breaks, hits here, you're going to be doing board resets. And one of the things that you're going to be able to do is gain income for your appeal. So your appeal right now, if it didn't move at all, would only give you 8 money. So you need to move along this track here to gain more money, but don't forget you also need to move along this conservation track because you're trying to get those 2 tokens to meet. So in a super quick nutshell, that is the game of Ark Nova. I didn't go over a lot of the things, like I didn't explain that when you claim things over there, so if I claim one of the objectives over there, I use the marker from here, and now I will get a permanent bonus every time we go through the coffee break reset stuff. Also, I could take it from here and get another person. This just gives me straight up 12 money. And this one gives me 3 of these X's. What do these X's do? Well, these X's will let me put them in place of not being in that position. So if I wanted to fire off this animal thing, but I wanted to be really at a level 3 because I made it a level 2, I could pay one of these that when I fire this off, it acts like it was a level 3. So these are pretty cool for that to collect throughout the game. Couple other notes for this game is getting those conservation parts, getting those conservation scores are pretty hard in the game, so that's one thing you want to work towards. You want to look at your objectives up top there that are communal. You want to try to get those maxes as soon as possible, but watch your other players because you don't want to lose out. So you may take a lower one just because. You're going to want to move along this track here too, because these cards become available to you as you move along that track, so it gives you more options. It's cards you can actually see. There is a lot to the placement of these buildings down here and claiming these things. You can't go on the rocks, obviously, and other things. So you're going to want to be very cautious and very careful in where you put your polynomial shapes. You're going to want to plan ahead for what you're trying to do and your synergies, but know that that is a super massive deck of cards that comes with this game. So if you're trying to find a specific animal or whatever in this game, you know, don't count on it. Use what you got, plan for what you have, and that is going to be your efficiencies in this game. So like I said, I did gloss over a ton of rules. I just wanted a general idea of how the game plays. Basically, to reiterate, you're going to be going through these as your actions. You're going to be trying to upgrade these actions as you go through the game. You're going to be pushing that coffee marker on there, which is going to reset the board, and the game will continue until someone's markers touch. And then final scoring will occur. You can gain a lot of extra points at the end of the game for your cards that you have placed out, for the bonus objective that you have had. So you can plan ahead for that and maybe not be so bent on making those match, and just know that you're calculating that you're going to win from what you have on your tableau. So again, in a really short, quick nutshell, this is Ark Nova. Let's go ahead back up the table here and I'll give you my final thoughts on this game. Okay, so I really like Ark Nova. Now, Ark Nova has some of the similar things if you ever play Terraforming Mars, where you're going to be paying attention to the different tags, in this case icons that you put out for the different cards. They're going to have some prerequisites for them. You're trying to build these up and increase your ticket level in the game so you get more revenue, and you're going to try to push your conservation efforts as you go. Once those two things meet, the end game will happen and the scores will be given out. Now this is a different game because a lot of times the scores are negative or very small numbers, so I really like that a lot. I like how cool the different cards are and all the different effects and all the different decisions that you make for which cards you bring into your zoo, because you also have to place those pieces on this little polynomial board. Similar but more complex than Terraforming Mars, where you're putting those little hex pieces out. This one here, you have to actually look to make sure they all fit and plan out your zoo. So I really like that. I really like trying to balance out all those different actions that you can take, basically when you pick them, when they move along that little track, how much you get out of those different actions. Just so much things to think about. So many awesome things in this game. I love this game. This is actually going to probably be one of my top 10 games of all time. It's been out for a while and I haven't played it. It just was so, I don't know, just sat on my shelf. And I am so glad that I took it out and got to play it. Just love this game. If you like games like that, I would highly recommend checking out Ark Nova. I think you can't mess up with this. Component quality is great. Gameplay is great. Game is interesting the entire time. There's a little bit of like solitaire in the game where you're really paying attention to your own tableau, but there is some player interaction in this game that is nice and meaningful, especially with that row of cards out there where you can pick them out and get them into your zoo, so people are watching to make sure you don't snipe those. Also in the different conservation awards that you can get on the top, they're gold cards, whatever they're called, but the communal ones up there, and the board for picking up and upgrading your own player board, where you go out there and which ones you pick, and players watching to make sure you know they get what they need to for their discounts and all sorts of fun stuff. Lots of things to think about in this game. Lots of different strategy you can take. Easy to pivot in this game. The only thing that I was going to say with this game that's not even, it's the same problem with like Terraforming Mars. I keep comparing it to Terraforming Mars. They are different games, by the way. There's just some feel stuff that feels similar. But one of the things that is similar is this thing has a massive deck in it. So if you're trying to look for specific cards to come out, I probably suggest not doing that. Base your strategy on what you know, what you can see, and what you can work with currently. Because the chances are you may never get the card that you wanted in this game. Just the same problem that happened with Terraforming Mars, or even a better example, Wingspan. Wingspan has a giant deck of cards in it, and you don't always get the bird synergies that you were looking for. You're not always going to get the same synergies in Ark Nova because of the amount of cards. Not that that's a really bad thing, it's just something to be aware of, because you don't want to sully your experience in the game by feeling bad that you didn't get that combo. You're probably not going to get it, so just feel really happy if it does show up, and try to base your strategies on what you know and what is available currently to you. So that's my only suggestion on it. Really great game. Highly recommend checking this out, especially if you love the theme. It's took a little bit to wrap our minds around the rules on it, especially with the scoring portion. But it actually is intuitive, and the rules are intuitive. It was just one of those things that I wasn't quite used to. So that took a little bit. If you have newer players to the gaming hobby, this might be a little difficult to get into, but I think it is worth it. So that's my thoughts on Ark Nova. Thank you for watching.